What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Christian with Beyond Worthy, back with another video, and hopefully everybody is doing well. Hope everyone had a wonderful day, a blessed day, if you will. And I'm back to offer another word of encouragement. Every day I feel like we're hit with some form of inspiration, and I'm finding those moments throughout the day to identify what is it that I've encountered, because we all encounter things every day that we can learn from, we can think about, we can share with others, and hopefully impart some knowledge and wisdom on others. And I think the message that I really wanted to get across today was the idea of running your own race in this life. And let me elaborate just in case that's not clear for anybody who's watching. So the idea of running your own race means to do your own thing, live your own life based off of decisions and ideas that you have for yourself. A lot of times I feel like people, and especially younger people, right? This was mostly inspired by having conversations with my 18-year-old daughter who recently graduated high school, who is currently in the process of figuring some things out in her life. Now, her mother and I don't necessarily focus on the idea of forcing our kids down a traditional path unless that's something that they truly want for themselves, right? Because at the end of the day, I've lived my life and I'm living my life, and I want my kids to feel empowered enough to lean into things that they're truly passionate about. And begin to explore those things, be curious, and figure out if there's something there that they can do at a deeper level to make a living in this world doing things that they truly enjoy. So anywho, the inspiration really came from just the constant pestering from outside sources, especially ones that don't necessarily live under my roof in my household, that are in the process of trying to push and pressure my daughter to go in a more conventional direction, mostly because a lot of people in society are married to an age-old ideology, which I've touched on in my previous videos, which is a path that's already been mapped out for them, right? Go to college, get a degree, get a great job, get some great benefits, work in your corporate environment for 30 to 40 years until you're too old to really enjoy the best part of life, and then just ride it out into the sunset until the good Lord calls you home. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? I don't want to misspeak and say just because you reach a certain age that the best part of your life is behind you. That may not be true, but I do know that most people do subscribe to that ideology of just taking that safe road. And I want you to know, if you find yourself in a similar situation, that you owe it to yourself to block out the outside noise. A lot of people who are making these encouragements have probably not even done the things that they're encouraging you to do. They've never crossed that road. They've never climbed that mountain. They're just saying that this is something you should do because somebody else told me that this would be good for you. Even though I didn't do it myself, I think you should do it. And I don't necessarily agree with that. I think you need to not compare yourself to other people. I think you need to not make decisions based off of what other people want for you. Your goal in this life is not to impress other people. Your goal in this life is not to keep up with other people. It is not to run a similar race as somebody else. The purpose of your life is to focus on things that are fulfilling for you and writing your own story, right? There's nothing wrong with looking at other people for inspiration, especially people who are doing things that you aspire to do, people who have climbed to the top of mountains that you hope to climb to the top of one day yourself, right? Use them as an inspiration, but even still, your version of that story is not going to be, and it shouldn't be, a one-for-one of that person that you're viewing, that you're looking at. And truly it can't, because you're going to face different obstacles. Your upbringing might have been different. The traits that you possess, the characteristics you possess, all of the cards that you've been given might be different than the cards that were dealt to that individual. It's your life. It's nobody else's. You are unique and wonderfully made. Comparison is the thief of joy. And a lot of times the people that you're comparing yourself to are generally miserable. I'm not going to say everybody who you compare yourself to, but some of those people who you think have it made, who you think are walking on sunshine, are miserable on the inside, right? For various reasons that we may not even be aware of. So don't compare yourself to anybody else. My encouragement would be, if nothing else in this life, be action oriented. Move with purpose when you find something that you're curious about, that you're interested in, right? Nothing just happens for you. You have to go out and create opportunity and success, or you need to build the skills necessary so when the opportunity presents itself, you're ready to grab it by the horns and truly ascend to that level that you want to ascend to. But outside of being action oriented, outside of moving with purpose, the only other thing that you really should strive to do in this world is be a good person, be an empathetic person, be somebody who is reliable, who's trustworthy, a person whose word is worth the weight that it carries. Be somebody who's a good individual at your core. And as long as you're a good person, as long as you're moving with purpose, and as long as you're trying things, right? The only thing that you can't do in this life is just do nothing. As long as you're doing something and you're trying things and you have all those other qualities I previously mentioned, the world will open itself up and the path will clear itself for you. As long as you're being very intentional once you figure out what you want to do. But that's a message for anybody, but specifically for young people, especially those who might have just recently graduated high school, who are, thrown out here into the world, figuring out what they want to do with themselves. Take your time. There's no rush, especially if nobody is forcing you to or rushing you. Maybe they're encouraging you, maybe they're giving you a gentle nudge, but as long as nobody is applying so much pressure that you feel like it's going to break you, take your time. I am a 39-year-old man, and this is story time. I feel like I'm fairly accomplished. If I look across my circle, I would say I'm considerably more accomplished than most people I know, by the grace of God. And there's still so much more for me to go after, and I'm going after it. But I went to college straight out of high school, and I wasn't ready, right? I went because my parents wanted me to go. It was a thing that everybody said I needed to do, even though in my spirit, it didn't feel like the right thing to do at that time. So I missed all the deadlines to apply for school. But regardless, my dad still felt like I should try to get in school. So he took me down to the local university. I went to the registrar's office, the admissions office, whatever you want to call it. Turns out I had done so well on my SATs that I got automatic admission into the university. And my parents were extremely overjoyed. But deep down, I was miserable. So miserable that I went to school, and by the end of my first semester, I was on academic probation because I didn't want to do the work and I didn't want to go to class. Had to go to a whole seminar on a Saturday to get prepped for the upcoming semester, and warned that if I failed to have a certain GPA, which I think the minimum was a 2.0, that next semester they would kick me out. But I didn't allow them to kick me out. You know why? Because I still didn't want to be there that next semester. That seminar did nothing for me. Didn't strike any fear in me. Because honestly, getting kicked out would have been welcomed where I was at mentally at that time. So I got about halfway through the semester, didn't want to do it anymore. So I went down to the admissions office. I requested course drop slips. They asked me how many did I want. I said I want one for each class. They warned me that by dropping every class, that would basically cancel out my registration into the university. I did it anyway. Didn't tell my parents. They found out eventually. And I went off and I worked in jobs that you would probably consider to be relatively low-level jobs. But my parents still insisted I go to school, so I did. I went to community college. And the same result happened. I went, did poorly, ended up on academic probation, dropped out. This time, once I left, I didn't tell my parents. I just left the house every single day because by this time I was back at home. And I went to the movie theater where I had friends who worked there who allowed me to watch movies all day, basically wrapping up around the time that my courses would have typically wrapped up. And then I would go home as if I went to a full day of class. Nobody knew. No, my parents were none the wiser. And I say all that to say, at that time, I wasn't ready. I was trying to fit into a box that other people were trying to put me in. But at a spiritual level, I was not in that space. And that wasn't for me at that time. But you know what happened? I worked a lot of menial jobs until I was ready. And when I was ready, I knew what I wanted to go to school for. And I went back roughly around the age of 24. If you're 18 right now, if you just graduated high school, that's 6 years older than what you are now. Keep that in mind. And when I went, I burned through school, 24, 25, 26, graduated about 27, early, mind you, because I was taking extra hours, maxing out at 18, taking summer classes, and I graduated cum laude, GPA through the roof, left school, found a job within a month of graduating, never looked back. Now a executive level position in my career field. Mind you, I'm still trying to figure something else out. But when I went to school, I was ready. I knew what I was going for. There was no doubt I was going to finish and I was going to put my best effort and my best foot forward because I wanted to do it, not because somebody else told me I should. So if you take anything away from that, understand that life comes at you fast, yes. But you got to do what you feel is right for you. And as long as it's something positive, even if it is going out and just getting a job and going to work every single day and putting your best effort forward, that's good enough for now until you know what you want to do. Don't box yourself in and find yourself miserable later on in life because you were trying to keep up with something that it doesn't even exist. You've contrived it in your mind by looking out around you. Look at what's in front of you. The only person you're in competition with is yourself. The only person who you owe it to achieve their goals and their dreams is you. Remember that. When you're faced with adversity, when all the outside noise comes chiming in, remember, block it out. It's you, and you. Put God in the mix. Sprinkle your parents in if they're good and they offer some constructive feedback and guidance. But outside of that, it's up to you. That's all I got, man. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Hopefully y'all are doing well. I pray that each and every one of you have a good day, a great week. And until the next time, take it easy, man. Peace out.